Be tackling the editing portrait tutorial. We have two portraits that we are going to learn how to edit. The first one, you could do them however you want. I'm gonna do the glamour one first and then do the traditional one second. I would recommend you just doing them in the same order as myself. So you are going to need to click and drag and get the image on your desktop. Same, click and drag, get it on your desktop. And then drag them into Photoshop. So I'm gonna drag this one into Photoshop and then this one into Photoshop. For this assignment, we need to do a few things to both of these pictures. So we are going to whiten the teeth. We're going to brighten the eyes. We're going to add some color to the cheeks or lips, clean up some wrinkles, especially on her face and a little bit on my face. We're gonna try to reduce the pores a little bit over in here. You can't really see mine too bad, but we are gonna try to take down the texture of my skin and the texture of her skin too. We're gonna play with the size of features as well. I'll show you how we can do that in Photoshop. We'll adjust the other features. I'm gonna maybe clean up my hair. I hate how Life Touch doesn't tell me how I look when I take my photos. They are literally the worst. So I'm gonna show you how we can clean up some other things and do some nice things with our pictures using our selection tools. This is gonna make everything a million times easier. When we have our selections made, then we'll be using our brush tools, our spot healing brush tools, our clone stamp tools, our patch tool, occasionally our dodge and burn tool. The burn tool is going to darken an area. Our dodge tool is going to lighten an area. We need to know this for our CTE test. We also will be using our hand tool. I didn't put that on here because I just use it automatically. You guys will use it automatically as well too. When you are done with both of these files, you're going to save these as JPEGs, which we haven't been doing a lot, which I know, but we have to save them as JPEGs, therefore to put them on our Google slideshow later on, just so you guys get in the habit of saving them as JPEGs. And you're going to upload these as two separate files onto this assignment. So I'll leave this up and available so we can kind of look at what we need to do and have my window right here as well. So let's work on her first. So always, always, always when we are editing, you guys need to zoom in. So if I see you guys leaning really close to your computer, which I often see you guys do, you need to zoom in. Always, always, always. Good habits to get in when we are editing pictures is right off of the bat, I'm gonna unlock, so I'll undo that. Unlock your bottom layer, and then I'm gonna copy and paste and duplicate that layer just so I have that original base layer to compare and contrast against. And also in case I do something that I really, really, really do not like later on, I can always maybe like go and make that selection and copy and paste that on later, that I always have my original underneath in case I need it. Because some of you guys will like erase and then go and do a bunch of stuff and then realize you don't like what you've done with your erasing and then try to go back and then you erase or go back and undo everything that you like to try to undo the erasing that you didn't like. So at least we have stuff there. Okay, so let's start off by whitening our teeth, which if I hold my space bar, I then have my hand tool appear, and then I can just click my mouse and I can navigate around. So zoom in, you guys. Like I'm trying to emphasize, it's going to make this so much easier. So it's Command plus to zoom in, Command minus to zoom out. And then for your selection tools, I'm going to use what is called the object selection tool. And we haven't used this one too much. It's our fourth tool down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right here. Object selection tool. So it's, if I click and hold that, object selection tool, it's up at the very top. So once I have that selected, you'll see it hovers over, I don't want this, so I'm gonna click over where my mouth is at and draw a box where my teeth are at. And once I release my mouth, it's analyzing my picture and it's figured out, oh, she wants the teeth. And it's done a pretty good job of figuring that out, but I don't want all of the gums and I don't want the spaces of the teeth. So the beauty of our selection tools are we can mix and match our tools. So I'm gonna go in and click my quick selection tool. I need to make my brush way smaller, so I'm gonna hit my left bracket, which is right next to my P key, like P for pillow. Make it way smaller, and then if I hold my Alt option, I then have the negative option to go back in and start cleaning things up around my gums. Oops, and if I undo something with the selection, just Command Z it. But like it's getting confused right here because it can't tell what I want. So I have to zoom in, you guys. Like you're gonna have to get used to it. Command minus, and sometimes I'll just do like a little click. And if it can't figure that out, then I'm gonna switch to my lasso and do my Alt option and just draw what I don't want it to be. You're gonna have to maybe sometimes draw in, oops, I'm gonna undo, Command Z, what I don't want the selection to be. And I'll switch back to my quick masking, hold my Alt option. Don't want that, but I do want that tooth. So I'm gonna release my Alt option and add that tooth back in. It's just like a back and forth right now. And it seems kind of redundant. Like why Riley? But it's way easier than like trying to erase something. If we take our time right now, way easier in the end. So I'm gonna say, no, I don't want this tongue, but I do want this tooth. So I held my Alt option right there, and then I'm gonna go in and say, no, I don't want this gum, but I do want these teeth. So you have to zoom in, you guys, for it to really read these pixels. And when I'm zoomed in, I can see these pixel edges really nice and neat. And that's the key, is zooming in, because the computer can analyze the pixel edges a lot better when you are zoomed in. And sometimes I have to make my brush like super teeny tiny. Right now I'm at 7 pixels for my brush. Sometimes I go down to literally 1 pixel for my brush size. And that's the name of the game sometimes. It is what it is, but I have full control over where it's going. And I'm still holding my Alt option just to say, no, I don't want my gums, but yeah, I do want these teeth. Just back and forth. It takes time, but it's like, would I rather like want to draw over all of these teeth, around all of these teeth, and take a long time to do that? Or would I rather use the computer to do it? Me, I would rather use the computer. It seems like it takes a little bit of time, but it's actually faster. And it does a way better job. Oops, I'm gonna undo. I'm gonna clean that up right there. See how it's messing up? I gotta zoom in. Can't figure it out. There it goes. Boom, right there. Alt option, undo. And this might switch back to lasso. Alt option, so a negative lasso. Draw around that. I don't want that. And it cleans it up. Okay, that's a good selection right there, where it's just her teeth, not her gums. We do not want her gums. We're trying to brighten her teeth. And when we're brightening her teeth, we do not want to make her teeth look like chiclets, like the gum, or really, really bad veneers are the newest thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, once I have my selection made, I'm going to go up to the very tippity top where it says image, drop down to adjustments, and then go right over to where it says brightness contrast. And let's bring our brightness up to like, let's go to 15. I don't really want to bring up the contrast. Let's leave that at 0. Curious what it's going to be. Actually, you know what? Let's copy, paste this selection, and then let's go image, brightness, contrast, and then let's bring up this brightness. Because what we're going to have is this really hard edge on the teeth, so we know we photoshopped them. And that's what I want to avoid. I want my nice bright teeth, but I don't want them to look too fakey. I want my bright teeth, but not fakey looking. Those look pretty good. So I'm gonna push, we can go up to maybe like, see that's fake. We don't like that. Let's go to 30. I like 30. So my teeth are now on its own separate layer. That's the original. That's my new. And then I'm gonna go and blend these a little bit with my eraser. With your erasers, you have different brushes. So with your general brushes, click on your arrow and find your soft round. We're gonna bring your opacity down to maybe like 30%. Zoom in. And then we're just gonna soften the edges of them just so they blend. Like if you've taken painting class, we just need to blend your teeth just so we don't see that hard line, so people don't know we photoshopped them. We don't want to we don't want people to know. We want to trick them. Oh, she just has really nice white teeth. Ooh, those look great. And then when we're happy with them, if I hold shift and then hold my layer 1, I can either right click and merge layers, or I can hit Command E as an elephant and then they'll merge down. So that now they're on one. And now she's got nice bright white teeth. Now let's brighten her eye color. So same thing, I'm gonna go select tools. For this one, let's go quick selection tool. And I need to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna go like size 45. We'll see if I can figure it out. And for this, I just want her iris, which is the colored part of her eye. So I don't want the eyelid at all. I do not want the white part of her eye just yet. We'll do that later. I'll do that in just a little bit. So I have that. That looks good. Let's copy and paste as well. And then for this one, same place, image, adjustments, brightness, contrast. And I like this so I can see the edges. So we're gonna bring your brightness up and let's bring your contrast up as well too, to a happy medium. Ooh, she's got really pretty eyes. Let's bring it up to 80. She's got gorgeous eyes when you make them pop. So I like 40 for our brightness. We'll go 40 for the brightness, 80 for the contrast. I like that. We'll push OK. Same thing, hold shift, select my bottom layer, Command E, or right click merge layers. Now I'm gonna brighten the white parts of her eyes. I need to zoom in though. And now you're probably seeing some imperfections of her skin. So I'm gonna make my brush a little bit smaller, select the white part of her eye. Select that. Boom, boom, boom. Copy, paste. Same thing, image, adjustments, brightness, contrast. I'm gonna bring the brightness up on those and automatically her eyes are gonna be like glowing. So let's go 30. I don't wanna go too much. And 20 for our contrast. And let's grab our eraser with our soft bristle at 30 opacity and just blend that nice and soft a little bit on both of those eyes. Hand tool to move around, soften. And her eyes are gorgeous right now. Gorgeous. So I'll hold shift, click on my layer 3, command E. Now it's layer 4, and we've got gorgeous eyes. So I can hit my eye for my now what is called layer 4, but it's really my layer 2. And I can see that's her original. That's what she's looking like right now. She's really pretty. Getting prettier, I think. She's pretty, but we're making her prettier. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, we will color. She's actually got pretty colorful lips. So let's give some color to her cheeks a little bit. We'll color my lips because I don't have very much color in my lips. But she doesn't have a lot of color in her cheeks, and we'll match the color of her lips to her cheeks. So we're gonna grab our brush tool now, which the brush tool looks like a brush. We're gonna need a bigger brush. We'll go like, I'm at like size 250, which is great. And instead of a normal mode, what I want you guys to do is we are going to try an overlay. We'll see if this works for us. And then if you hold Alt Option, our eyedropper tool appears. And then if I click at the very tippity top of her lips, we're gonna get that nice rose color. That's what her lip color is at. And I want to make sure my opacity is at about 30% as well too. We don't want to do really intense. Maybe I'll make my brush a little bit bigger. Oop, that's way too intense. We need to bring this down maybe to like, let's try 5%. Yeah. Start off really soft. Let's undo. Just a little bit of color. Just give her a little bit of life. I don't like that. I'm getting it right in the crevice of her cheek. Oops, edit, redo, layer visibility. Okay, so if I'm getting it right, I'm getting it right in here, right where her smile marks are at. So if I can't control it, I'm gonna do a selection tool of her cheek. And then go back with my brush and just slowly keep applying some color. And I can go back in negatively with my eraser. I'm gonna bring my eraser down really softly. I'm just trying to erase that. Nice and soft. Nice and soft. I'll Command D, see how it looks? Just a little bit more color, liking that. Just a little bit more life in her. That's why girls wear blush, just to get a little bit more life in their skin. And then we'll do a selection tool over in this cheek. Same thing, we'll select our brush now. Just a little bit. I'm just kind of doing, it's called a paint stroke, where you just do like one movement, 1, 2. I did like 3 movements, and then I go in and just soften that. Command D. Just make sure you can't see that hard outline right there of where the blush ends and her skin begins. And we'll compare. Original. No, she's getting prettier. That's what we need. That's what we're wanting. Okay, so we have blush. Now we need to clean up wrinkles. And this is gonna be the challenging part. Okay, so we have to zoom in. Okay, so some of her wrinkles, we're gonna try our best to get rid of. Okay, so we will see if the computer is able to get rid of these things on its own. So we are going to try to see if our spot healing brush tool can remove some of these things. Now, when you're using spot healing brush tool, the best thing that I have found is to try to make your spot healing brush tool as small as possible and to do it in small sections at a time. So like what I'm doing is trying to make my brush as small as possible, and then I'm gonna go over this wrinkle one at a time and see if it can figure it out and cover over the wrinkle. I just draw over it, and then the computer analyzes it when I release it, and it's gonna try to figure out where to pull from in the picture to try to cover up that wrinkle. Sometimes it can figure it out, sometimes it can't. So now I'm just sitting here waiting to see what it's gonna come up with. Hopefully it works. I've got a red dot though, so let's see. Maybe I'll do that one and see what happens. See, not good. Sometimes it works. Generally, I find with wrinkles, this isn't really the tool that we need. So let's use spot healing brush tool for something that I know will work for, which is blemishes. So if I take my space bar and move over to in between the eyes, she does have a little bit of imperfections in her skin, which happens. We all have blemishes or just some redness in our skin. I get that, which you will see when we zoom into my skin. Everybody has it. Do not feel bad if you have it. You are human. That's what humans have. But spot healing brush tool is great because all I have to do is click over top of it and it cleans it up. One, boom. So we'll get rid of her little hairs, which ladies, do not feel bad if you have body hair or hair on your face. We are meant to have hair. We are meant to have pores. We are meant to have all of this here. So do not feel bad if you have these things. Men, do not feel bad if you have any imperfections on your face as well too. We are humans. That's why we are here. But Photoshop, we can fake it and mask it. So I'm just clicking on them and then they disappear. That's the beauty of them. So now I'm just going to kind of look around her face and see if I have any other imperfections that I don't like. Like, oh, I don't really like that little freckle. Let's go to the bottom of her chin. Yep, she's got just some imperfections in her skin that I can clean up. Forewarning, this gets a little addicting. I often will do this like when I did yearbook. I would go in for people's like senior pictures and sometimes clean up their skin. Oops, sometimes it can't figure it out. Nope, not good. So that's a time where it's not really working right here. Oh. Okay, I know why. So this one's not really working that great. So I'll show you what I was gonna move to. So about 2 tools down is this thing that looks like a stamp, and this is called our clone stamp. So I'm gonna hit my right bracket to make my brush a little bit bigger, just to cover it. With clone stamp, if I hold my Alt option, you'll see a bullseye comes up. So I need to move my bullseye, oops, zoomed in, a little too far. I need to hold my Alt option and tell the computer where I want it to pull the pixels from. And I can control how much opacity it is pulling from as well too. So I'm gonna bring that down. Usually I kind of just like to do a little bit of an overlay, normal as well too. But I have to tell it where to pull the pixels from. So Alt option, I'm gonna tell it, okay, I want you to pull it from right there, and I'll do a couple clicks just to cover it up, and then it works. But that's brighter right there. I think it's because I did an overlay. So let's pull it from right there maybe. Yeah, that looks better from going underneath. Usually you try to go like somewhere right next to where you're trying to clean it up from, because that's gonna have similar light. And then let's try to clean up some of these wrinkles now. So we're gonna try to do our best. It's gonna be like really impossible for you guys to clean up all of this, but we can do a little bit of it. So let's go right underneath. We're gonna use our clone stamp. And what I want you guys to do is we are going to make our brush to be, let's go about 150 would be great. And then you're going to need to do your Alt Option about right underneath the eye. Right underneath it is where you're gonna tell your bullseye where we want it to select from. Now our opacity, let's bring it down to like 20%, not a lot. And actually let's bring it down even more to like 15. And we're just gonna lightly just kind of try to soften these wrinkles a little bit. We don't want to completely mask them. We're just going to kind of paint right over top of them. With the texture, we're just going right underneath them, space bar right over them, because you'll see our little bullseye is following as we move. We're just going to keep, and we can keep clicking, it'll keep covering. And I just kind of keep moving back and forth slowly. Actually, we're doing a pretty good job. Wow, she looks really youthful now. Pretty darn good. We'll do right here too. I'm actually pretty amazed with myself. This is the best we've done. We'll lighten her up a little bit right there. So notice I'm kind of trying to go with the way that the eye flows. You ladies who do your makeup, you're going to be like, oh, easy. Oops, got a little bit out of my window. Boys, if you've never done any type of makeup, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. You might not be familiar with it, but you go with the way that the eye flows. Same thing, I'm going to do it like right here. Cleaning up the wrinkles. So much more youthful. Let's compare. Old, new. She's young. Okay. Oops. Okay, we're doing good. Let's go to the other eye. Same thing. Now I'm going to make sure Alt Option, tell my bullseye to go right underneath. Same thing. Just keep painting slowly. Slowly, just filling it in. We don't want to do too much at first. Some of you, I know you're going to want to try to rush, but usually it looks way too fake and then you have to redo. So it's not bad to have a little bit of color, dimension, or texture really right there. Like we need this little crevice too, because I mean, we have eyes. Oh, and I messed up right there, so I'm going to cover that up. And you can always reselect where you want your bullseye to pull from, and you can kind of see, okay, it's getting a little crazy now because it's pulling from the hair. And now I have to really pay attention to where my bullseye is pulling from, because it wants to pull from like the eye or the eyelash area, and it's gonna make it messy, and then it's not gonna look good and clean. So I'm just trying to cover, just trying to soften those wrinkle lines. I don't like that. I covered up her mascara, so I'm gonna, oop, what did I do right there? I did something. Did I shift her? Yep, I totally did shift her. That's what I did. I moved my top layer. Okay. Makes a bit of a difference. Okay. And we'll keep cleaning it up, soften those wrinkles. Same thing, pay attention to where your bullseye is pulling from. You can always undo. And that's why we have that bottom layer, just in case you mess up. Remember, this is for practice. Super youthful now. No wrinkles. But she does need a little dimension in the face, and we kind of lost our color. So I'm going to go back in and add that in. Add that back in. Add that back in. And then what I can do is I'm going to go and do this thing called the dodge tool. Actually, let's go to the burn tool first. Burn tool. And I'm going to go, it says mid-tones right here. Let's bring it down like 30%. We're just going to go right underneath the eye just for a little bit of dimension. All right, let's undo. Let's bring our brush to be, let's go like, yeah, size like 200, just so she has some dimension in her face. Because we need eye sockets. It's kind of important. And we need bridge of the nose for contouring. Right there, nice. Now she actually looks like youthful, no wrinkles, really good. So that dodging, we just added a little bit of darkness underneath to make her eyes look like they're going in because they were too bright right there. Not nice. We have a little bit of a swatch right there, but I'm not too worried about it. I mean, guess we can clean it up if we're really worried, but for sake of practice, NBD. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. One thing I do not like though is she's got kind of a funky nose. You guys notice that? She's got a really funky nose. So inside of, right above it, there's a blur sharpen, and then there's called a smudge tool. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. So smudge tool, I can smudge her nose to be down. And hopefully I'm gonna zoom out to see how it looks. That looks to be a lot better. I like that. That's looking good. But you can definitely see how her pores on her face, I mean, we can see her pores, right? So what we're going to do then is just add some blur to this. Now, a lot of the times I do this kind of blur effect in Lightroom, but there is Lightroom within Photoshop. And most of you have this. If you do not have it, let me know and I can show you a workaround if you're doing this tutorial on your own. Most of you have this though. So if we go up to the very tippity top where it says filter, drop down to where it says camera raw filter. And then this is Lightroom within Photoshop. And we are just on the top layer, and I'm gonna actually compress this down with my bottom layer now. Actually, let me duplicate this again. Duplicate it down. And then I'll clone stamp right there because it's just being a little funky monkey really soft. Just being a little funky in the cheeks. There we go. And then filter, camera raw filter, so I don't have those open gaps. There we go. Okay. Gotta find where, always forget which one it is at. Effects. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in as well too. Always good to have. So I can see what is happening when I'm doing it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take down my texture because the texture of her skin we want less of. So I'm gonna zoom out, kind of find my happy medium. Let's go negative, maybe, let's go negative 35. So she looks like really airbrushed, really light, really glowy. But let's also, I don't want the clarity. No, let's keep the clarity at 0. Let's bring the D haze up to 5. And then I always like a good vignette for my portraits. Let's do a nice white vignette to make her look a little angelic. So let's do a plus 45 vignette. So the white vignette around her. That's very glamorous. She's looking good. She's pretty. No grain on this one. This isn't the vibe we're going for her. Push okay. So she's already big difference. Okay. Come on, healing. Da, 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 da. That's good. We'll do the patch tool on me. We did burn. We could do dodge. We'll lighten her bridge up a little bit. Let's do that. So underneath the burn, there's the dodge. So if you know anything about contouring is about light and darks just to like push and pull the light. So I'm just going to brighten a little bit on the bridge of her nose just so she looks really light. Oh, let's go to the mid-tones, excuse me. Oops, way too much. That brings me back to like 2016 when contouring was like extreme and girls were like looking crazy. Probably before your guys' time. Makeup was a little intense. So exposure 22 on our mid-tones. My brush is at 175 on a soft brush as well too. I did a bridge of her nose a little bit, a little highlight on her chin, a little bit on her nose as well too. That's the style now with like you e-girls, is the sparkle on the nose. The sparkle on the cheek. And then I'm going to show you how we can play around with facial proportions because that's what you guys do when you put filters on your face, which hopefully you don't do that too much because you guys all have pretty faces, but we do this a lot. So if we go up to, once again, filter and we drop down to liquify, we then have some options to change some things about our face. So AI is analyzing our pictures and we can do some really fun things with our face. So over here, there is, we could do it by brush if we want to control it, or we can have AI do the hard work for us. So it's already analyzed that there's a face number 1, and we can do it by feature. So I'm going to start with the eyes. Now, generally in our culture, we like really big eyes for some reason. It almost looks like cartoony and also like childlike. So we like really big eyes. So I'm going to bring her eyes. Let's go to, I don't want it to be like crazy big. So let's go to 55. For her left eye. And we'll go 55 for that eye. And then Let's just maybe open them up to 30. Open them up to 30 a little bit. Already huge, 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 huge. I don't want to tilt them. I actually really like her angle. I really like her shape. She's got a pretty good distance. She doesn't have too far apart to anything like that. Once we change her nose, I think we'll be good. So I'm just gonna hit that arrow and then let's play with her nose a little bit. So we in this culture, these are just kind of stereotypes that we have of our ideals of beauty, which these are just ideals. If you think differently, awesome. That's so amazing. Now, we generally, in our society, like a thinner, smaller nose for whatever reason, for our beauty standards. So we can make our nose really small and make it really thin. We're gonna maybe raise up our nose a little bit. I don't like it that high. Let's bring our nose up to like 25, which I like that a little bit more. So, I don't know if I like, let's go to 90 for her width. That I think is a little bit better. And then she's got a skinnier bridge because she had a pretty wide bridge. For how big, she's got a pretty bulbous nose as well too. But that I like better. And then let's make her a little bit more smiley too, because she's got pretty big smile going on. So if I take the smile, we're gonna make her really smiley. Really smiley. Let's see how far we can get it without being super creepy. Let's go to 65 for her smile. We can make her lips look a little bit thicker as well too. She's got a pretty tiny upper lip. Then let's make her smile a little bit smaller then, because it's a little bit creepy when it's that big. Let's bring it down to 50. Let's make her bottom lip a little bit thicker as well too. Let's bring her mouth height. Her width is fine, I think. Let's bring her height down a little bit because she's got a really high smile. So down 50. So that I'm liking for a glamour shot. Push OK. So we went from that to here. Still looks like the same person, but improved. So that's what we want. So how I'm going to save this, you're going to go File, Save As. You have to hit Save a Copy, and then you're going to have a lot more options, and you have to save it as a JPEG. So save a JPEG. You could name this girl on your desktop. Save. Okay, good. And she's done.